Joining us this morning, Jonathan Allen, NBC News senior national politics reporter. And Jonathan, there is so much politics around this, especially around the courtroom.
I mean, we're seeing Speaker Mike Johnson, Vivek Ramaswamy, the surrogates for Donald Trump coming out to support him. What's fascinating to me is that through all of this, they're making all kinds of arguments against this trial, against the judge, against the fact that it's happening at all, saying that Donald Trump's being pulled off the trial. Not one of them has offered any sort of rebuttal against Michael Cohen. Some of them have said that he is a liar, which I think the defense will do again and again in this trial. But what they have not said is that anything specific that he has said in this trial is a lie. And I think that that is a really fascinating point, that none of them feel like they have the credibility to do this. It is a political theater, a political circus around this trial, unlike anything we've ever seen. The Speaker of the House of the United States coming to New York to basically talk about a hush money trial. This conservative guy from Louisiana who has risen on the strength of his belief in morality, and there is nothing inside that courtroom that sounds, particularly moral. I'm not making, I'm not casting aspersion on anybody, but given where Mike Johnson comes from and what his politics are, it's amazing that he's standing out there in defense of Donald Trump.
There's a lot of hypocrisy to so much of what we're seeing in that regard, but I'm also interested to get your take, Jonathan, on who's been missing from inside that courtroom. And that is a lot of Trump's family members, right? We've seen Eric Trump show up on a number of days, including today, but no Melania Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could understand why Melania Trump wouldn't want to be in the courtroom for Stormy Daniels telling this story of an affair that she had with Donald Trump. I can understand why Donald Trump wouldn't want his wife there. I think perhaps the most sympathetic Donald Trump has probably seemed to that jury at any time during this trial is when Stormy Daniels is going through the particulars of that. I think it's uncomfortable for everybody, right? When she's talking about how he kept, he would call her every couple of weeks and check in on her, and you're listening to that, and there's a humanizing effect to that. I think there are a lot of things that she said that are damaging to him. I think they needed her as a witness, but I am not sure that having Melania Trump would have, in that courtroom, would have made it more comfortable for anybody. It's certainly not more comfortable for either.
Does the jury notice when people are not there? Families not behind their guy?
Totally agree about the discomfort and why you wouldn't want to be there, or well, Trump may not want you there. But if you're a defense attorney, you would love to see the wife sitting there, loving up on her husband, concerned about him, projecting that we are and remain a connected unit through all this, because the signal it sends to the jury is what they should understand about who Donald Trump is, what this marriage is. Because remember, one of the points that the defense is going to try to be escalating for the jury is this was all about Melania. This was about Melania finding out. This wasn't about the election. This was about Melania. That's the story they want the jury to read, at least one, to hang it. And without her there helping to project that story,
because the defense is trying to paint him as a family man. That's part of their argument, right? Sorry.
Could I devil's advocate here for a minute, then?
If you want to advocate for the devil, go ahead.
So I'm just saying that, like, if their whole point is that Donald Trump wanted to keep this from Melania Trump, then sticking her in the courtroom to listen to all of this doesn't that undercut that potentially?
No, and the reason is because she's already listening to it, and everybody knows it. It's a news story. How is she being protected from it? I'm not saying it's easy or comfortable, but look, any time you see high-profile criminal trials where there's an issue that really goes to, is this defendant someone who is heinous and will do heinous things, or is this defendant someone who can be humanized to a jury, relatable? And that's what family members do. So I totally hear you, and I would feel this way if I was Melania. I wouldn't want to be in that courtroom. But guess why? Guess why I wouldn't want to be in that courtroom? Because I'd be like, I'm going to slap this man in the back of the head as I'm sitting behind that jury box, making faces.
Maybe
like,
take the magazine.
I can't believe you made me. Right?
Take the magazine.
Exactly. So you don't put someone in that position who can't show up in that way. But I'm just saying it would be helpful to the defense if that's the picture the jury was seeing of who Donald Trump, the person is, Donald Trump, the husband is. Melania could do that for him, and she's not.
Depending on how she reacted. Very important. And let's go back inside the courtroom. Yasmin Masukian has some emails that now the court is being shown, and the witness, Cohen, is talking about specific emails that include Giuliani and Mueller.
Yeah, this seems like a very damning email admitted into evidence here. On June 13th, 2018, let me read it for you guys. Michael, this is from Robert Costello. Again, this is the friend of Rudy Giuliani, recommended by Giuliani, by Trump, to represent Michael Cohen after his apartment was raided. He was under investigation in April of 2018. This is June of 2018. This is Robert Costello to Michael Cohen saying, Michael, since you jumped off the phone rather abruptly, I did not get a chance to tell you that my friend has communicated to me that he is meeting with his client this evening, and he added that if there was anything you wanted to convey, you should tell me, and my friend will bring it up for discussion this evening. This is Hoffinger. Who was the my friend reference? Cohen says Giuliani. Giuliani's client would refer to Trump. Hoffinger, why didn't he use the names Giuliani and Trump? Cohen, to be covert, very I spy-ish. Clearly never mentioning President Trump. Just using code words. What did this mean? They're talking about potential pre-pardons, I believe. Who is my friend's client? Trump. This seems like a very damning piece of evidence. And again, this is just kind of sandwiched between the raid in April to when Michael Cohen in August of 2018, in fact, did plead guilty and then pointed the finger at Donald Trump just 2 months after this email was in fact sent, as they were referring to, as Michael Cohen alleges, to these pre-pardons from the former president of the United States, who was, in fact, at the time, the sitting president.
Yasmin Masukian, thank you so much. I-spying going on here.
Misty, the significance of this email, is it damning?
So the email doesn't really speak to the heart of the issue at the case. Keep in mind, we're talking about 2018, and the case relates to falsified documents from 2016. So when we're looking back at the mindset and the intent at the time of 2016, this is obviously after the fact. However, this is like in the muck, right? Think about all of the people who are surrounded in this issue. The I spy type language, the idea that this pardon is going to be divvied out. It sounds like a little bit more than I think it is, but it really does speak to the why of Michael Cohen waiting to actually come forward with the truth, because that's always going to be the question. If I'm the defense lawyer, my whole point is going to be, you serve you, right? When it serves you to say X, you say X. When it serves you to say Y, you say Y. Whoever is in a position, you'll lie for Trump, you'll lie to the federal court, you'll lie to Congress if it's the best thing for you. So they're trying to combat that argument right out the gate and provide the jury with some context and explanation of why it wouldn't have come out at this particular point.
But Maya, has the prosecution done enough through Cohen's testimony to, I guess, inoculate that? Because they are showing him being super deceptive in so many capacities, right? Why wouldn't the jury then take from that he could be lying right now to us?
So what the prosecution is doing is pulling that out forward so that they're shaping the story for the jury that they want the jury to hear, because it's going to come on cross.
Right.
They know it's going to come on cross.
But in other words, maybe let me just rephrase for a second. Have they been able to make Cohen a very credible witness? Have they been able to convince the jury, in your opinion, that he is a truth teller now when he's been a liar before?
Yes, and because, first of all, one thing to remember, two critical points here. One, the way Cohen himself has shown up so far in his demeanor, in his delivery, is a huge part of communicating that. And I think we've all seen a very different Michael Cohen than the one we've heard on his podcast or sometimes on television. That communicates a kind of levity and level that's important. But it's also the fact that in the way the prosecution set this case up, they put the witnesses on the stand first that were corroborating key points of his testimony, so that when he takes the stand, they have already heard from different witnesses some of the very critical points that he himself is making.
And taking you back, Jonathan, to 2015, 2016, important to underline the importance of Michael Cohen to Trump.
Yeah, I mean, here's the guy doing all the secret missions, right? He's talking about all the covert, the high spy. This is somebody who's taking care of stuff for him. And obviously, as Cohen testified earlier today, he is taking care of things that Donald Trump has signed off on. That he would not be doing the things that he was doing if Donald Trump hadn't signed off on them. And why did he say? Because he wanted to be paid back.